Hi there, Homespun friends. It's Sherry. I'm coming to show you that I got mail. I got so much mail. I want to thank you for those of you who have sent me mail. I sure do appreciate it. I received a blessing from reading each one, and I would love to respond to each letter that I received. It may take me a little while, but I think I'm going to try to make that my aim to do. But if you don't hear from me, know that I'm trying. I received, here's one from Florida, and a beautiful card and a wonderful testimony that was shared with me. I just enjoyed reading this letter. I also wept when I read this letter. It's several pages long, and it touched my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time to write to me, Debbie, and I do appreciate it. And I really appreciate this beautiful card. The card she sent, she didn't write in it. She sent the letter in a separate sheets of paper. But this is the little card. Isn't that beautiful? I love birds. I mean, I'm just crazy about birds. And when I saw this card, I thought, you know what? I could put could put our family name on here and put this in a picture frame. I think that would be really pretty. Kind of like just a, I don't know, just a really pretty monogrammed or personalized type presentation in a frame. I think it would be nice. So thank you, Debbie, for that. I appreciate it so much. The very first response that I received, I'm trying to get this back in the envelope. Come on, work with me here. Was, let me see, was this one. I'm trying not to reveal any information that's personal. From Margaret. This is from Margaret. And Margaret is in Virginia. And she sent me this cute letter and a gift. And she talked about the video I did about repurposing the things that we have and making new things out of them. And she sent me this wonderful bag of tags and cards that she has repurposed. And I want to show you some of these. Now, this top one is my favorite. I love it. I love it. Isn't that beautiful? That looks very homespun. That looks like me, so I like that. And these are beautiful also. I love this one with the yarn. I remember this yarn from when I was a girl, these thicker yarns. We'd put them in our hair. Do any of you other ladies remember when we'd wear these yarns in our hair with pigtails or ponytails? Some of these to be used at Christmas. Look at this pretty one with the birds. I love that one also. She has just taken these things and repurposed them and made them beautiful, and I love them. And you could use them for little cards. As you can see, you could just open them up and use them for neat things. Don't get your tinsel in a tangle. I need to remember that one. And I just love how she has done this. She has really repurposed these items and made them beautiful and put them in these different unique shapes. And I love it. And so this is an idea for you ladies that have beautiful cards. You might want to think about repurposing them. She also sent me some gorgeous stickers. And so thank you so much, Margaret. I appreciate it. I appreciate your letter. The letter also had a bird on it. And so you guys know me pretty well. You know how to make me happy. And I also received from Margaret, she sent me another something this week that I got. It was a recipe, and I appreciate it so much because I'm going to make this, Margaret. It is the Mexican beef and rice casserole. And if I make this, I will try to video it for you guys so that you can see how it turns out. She tried it and said it turned out so well, and she thought I would like to try it as well. And what really got me excited is it has rice in it, and I love rice. So I think I would enjoy that. It's got, all kinds of cheese and lean ground beef in it, and tomatoes and salsa and things like that. So I'm going to try this, Margaret. Thank you for sharing that recipe with me. And I also received mail from a young lady named Yvonne. I met Yvonne on Facebook through, if I'm not mistaken, it was through the Homespun Wife Facebook page, and I have been friends with her for several years on Facebook, but we've never met in person. And she lives in Tennessee, and sometimes I travel to Tennessee with our church groups, but we've never been able to get together while I'm there. And she sent me this beautiful, just this beautiful thing to put up in my house. Let me show you what it is. It's a home blessing. I love it. It says here, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. In this place will I give peace, saith the Lord. And then it says, the crown of the home is godliness. The beauty of the home is order. The glory of the home is hospitality. The blessing of the home is contentment. And this actually this is a copy of what hung in her grandmother's house as she was growing up. And she made this for me and sent it to me, and I absolutely love it, and I'm going to put it up in my home because I think it is beautiful. So thank you, Yvonne, for sharing with me something so personal to you, and I just appreciate you sending mail, ladies. It's such a blessing to get something in the mail. I love it and love hearing from you in a personal way and also hearing from you here on Facebook. Now, I thought I would take just a few minutes and do sort of a Q&A. If you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, if you will leave them in the comments below, I will get back to you in a future video with the answers. But for the past, really for a couple of months, I've had people asking me a couple of questions already, and so I wanted to kind of get to those. One of the questions that has been asked of me is, how did you meet your husband? And I met my husband while we were both attending college. Now, my father was a pastor, and he pastored all across the Southeast, and I attended 5 high schools. So we moved quite a bit around different areas and different times of his life. Sometimes we'd stay in locations longer, some shorter. And so I was used to moving. My husband was from a home primarily raised by his mother. His parents were divorced, and his mom was a hardworking woman that taught him a lot about working hard and having a great work ethic. All of his family are hard workers. His dad was a hard worker. He's deceased now. His mother is in her 70s. She works every day. She manages a business. She's managed for, 46 years or longer. His brother and sister both are just very hard workers. That was instilled in them when they were very young. But no one in his family had ever attended college. And so he was the first person in his family to attend college, and that's where we met. Now, I went to my father's alma mater. I went to Gardner-Webb University, and it's a small liberal arts college, has a lot of Christian leanings and support. And so that is where I went to school, and that's where my husband went. And we met, and he was older than I am. And so we met in the cafeteria one day, and he came up and sat down with me, and he was so handsome and funny, and I was crazy about him right from the start. But one thing we didn't talk about the first time or two that we were together was our future. We didn't really talk a lot about what is your major, anything like that. But on one of our first dates, we started talking about, what is your major here in school? And he told me that he was a ministerial student. And I did not want to marry a pastor. I had grown up in a pastor's home. It had been overwhelming to me. I wanted to get away from that, and I struggled with it very much. And we did not date anymore for several months, even though I really, really liked him. I just wasn't prepared for what that might entail. God still had to work on me, and he still had to get me prepared for what my future was going to be. But he did work on me. He worked on my heart. And I was getting ready to transfer to the University of North Carolina to continue to study journalism and English. I was an English major. And I was not happy at Gardner-Webb. It seemed like I just was struggling. And my mentor there, my professor that was my mentor, told me, if you really want to major in journalism, you need to go to a bigger university. You really have the grades and the preparation to get into UNC, so you should go ahead and apply. And my parents had driven over to the school. We had talked at length about what my future entailed, but this was just before I met my future husband at Gardner-Webb. And so after I met him and I was finishing up my semester, and I wasn't really sure about what the next semester was going to hold. I wasn't sure that I was going to return to Gardner-Webb or go on to further my education elsewhere. And I was passing through the campus one day, and it was a weekend when it was very, very quiet. And I heard someone across the campus scream my name. And when I looked, it was Vince, my husband. And I waved, and he came running over to me. And in the months that had preceded, God had really been dealing with me in a lot of areas. And I had been seeking him, and yet, I hate to say rejecting him, but rejecting what I felt he was telling me that he wanted from me. I wanted my own way, and I didn't want to do things his way. You've probably been there in your life as well. And but in that day, when my husband came over, my future husband, and started talking to me, he said, "Do you want to go get a bite to eat?" And I said, "Sure." And that was it. Within 2 days, he had already taken me to look at engagement rings, and I had picked the one that I really loved. He put $2 down on it at the jewelry store in a nearby town, and that was back in the days when you could do that. And then he worked all summer to pay for my engagement ring that I still have. I'm gonna see if I can get it turned the right way. I'm not very good at this camera stuff. Look, I can't get it going right. Let me turn it towards you. I don't know how to do that exactly. There it is. And so I was just mad in love with him and decided that I was going to do what God wanted me to do, and I was going to be a pastor's wife after all. And here I am 33 years later doing that very thing. And my husband and I are very different. I'm an introverted person, and he's an extroverted person. Um, I'm not a leader. I know that about my nature. I have led many things. Being a pastor's wife, I've done whatever is necessary in church work. And we've pastored churches that are very small, just with maybe 25 or 30 people when we were in seminary, up to our current church, which has probably been our largest church. We have about 1,000 members where we are now. And not that many people attend our worship services. Some of those members are live in other places, but they are still connected to our church family here. And so it is a big work that we're doing now, we feel like. But in the scope of churches, it's not a mega church by any means. But it keeps us very, very busy. And so it doesn't matter whether you're in a really small congregation or a larger congregation, no matter where you are, there's lots to do. And as a minister and a minister's family, there's always going to be that. I hate to say pressure, but it's pressure. And that has become normal for me. A lot of people say, "How do you do it? How do you handle that?" It is normal for me. I've done it all of my life as a child, and then continued on all of these years. So for 46 years, even though I'm 52, my father did not start pastoring until I was about 5 or 6 years old, because he was serving in Vietnam and came home and went to Gardner Webb and was an amazing student there, graduated at the top of his class. Just a brilliant person, my father, and I love him so much. And my mom is the perfect pastor's wife. She's beautiful, she's sweet, and they pastored pretty much all of the years of their ministry was in pastoral ministry. And then when my dad finally decided to retire, I'm trying to remember how old he was. He was probably in his late 50s. And he decided to retire, and he took a job with the Georgia Baptist Convention. And there he was the vice president of evangelization. And basically what that means is evangelism is telling the gospel of Jesus Christ to others. And so his job was to tell all of the people that he met and everyone throughout the state about Jesus Christ, and not only to tell them himself, but to teach churches, ministers, and lay people how to share the gospel in everyday life. How do we share the gospel with people? Why is it we're so afraid to talk about Jesus to people that we don't know? How can we overcome those fears? And so that was some of the work that he did. Now, when he finally retired from the convention, he continued to run a website that he had run for many years. And he still runs the website now, and it's geared to help pastors with their messages and illustrations and ideas to jumpstart their sermons. And he and my mom moved from Georgia back to North Carolina, where our family is all originally from. And they live now about 40 minutes from me. And matter of fact, our oldest son and his wife and daughter live in the same town as my parents. And that has been such a blessing for my parents. And they attend the same church. My dad does some interim work. So when he's doing interims, of course, he is in various churches throughout the area. But when they are not doing an interim work, they attend the same church as my son and his family. And so it is wonderful. And we went at Christmas time to see our granddaughter in a play. And it was so bizarre to be sitting next to my parents and then be there with my son and his family, because all of our lives we've lived in different places. Pretty much my adult life, we've never been able to be together that much, because they would be ministering in one state and we would be in another state. And Christmases were difficult because on Christmas Eve they had to be in their church and we had to be in our church, and so we spent a lot of sacrificial time apart for doing God's work, just doing what we were called to do. And I knew that's how it would be for us when we answered the call to minister to people in Jesus' name through the local church. So be sure to pray for your pastor, pray for your pastor's wife and family, because it is not an easy job. But my husband and I married, and he immediately went to seminary. He went to Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, North Carolina. I worked for a number of months doing various jobs, waiting for an opportunity to get a job in the seminary, which I finally did get a job in the seminary. I worked as the transcript clerk. Now, this was back in the day when transcripts were not on a computer screen. They were kept in a vault. All of the students that had attended the seminary, all of their grades were kept in there, as well as the current students that were attending. And so I worked in the registrar's office, simply managing transcripts and understanding transcript law and how to send transcripts and what was official and unofficial transcript, and also working with incoming grades and also registration and drop add classes and things like that. So I worked with a team of other people, but that was my job in my early marriage. And even after our first son was born, I continued to work because my husband wasn't quite finished with his master's. It takes about 3 years to get your master's degree in divinity. And so when he finally finished and graduated, our son was about 14 months old, and that's when I was finally able to be a full-time homemaker. And it was an adjustment because I had been out working and I liked it, but I'd always dreamed of being home full-time and helping with our children. I felt like that's what God was calling me to do. That's what my husband felt like God was calling me to do. But then when I finally got to the point where I could do it, I was like, whoa, this is so different. I feel trapped in the house. I don't know how to handle this. So anyway, God had to deal with me there again. There's always something where God is dealing with us and he's helping us along the way. And sometimes the greatest things that we dream of, they are not what we expect, and they're not what we were planned for. And we're like, wait a minute, I wanted this, but now I don't want it. But God continues to be with us and help us, and he has done that for us. And now 33 years later, here we are, still married, happily married. He's the love of my life. And I'm so very proud of him. He is my best friend. We spend an enormous amount of time together. People often ask me, how do you spend so much time with your spouse and not go crazy? I love being with him. I just love it. And he loves being with me, I think. So we are a team, and we've always seen ourselves as a team. And it's he's certainly the head of our home, but he is very respectful to me. And whenever decisions are to be made, I know that the final decision will rest with him, but he's always talking to me about things and always wanting my ideas. He's a person that takes into consideration all the points of view, and so most of the time we are in agreement on the big decisions of our lives, and that's been a blessing. So that's one of the big questions that I get. I'm starting to run out of time with you guys because you're probably getting tired of hearing me talk. Another question that I have gotten in the past is about cleaning my house. Do I have a chore schedule? And how do I clean my house? Well, that also goes back to the early days of my marriage. Our schedule, because we're in a pastor's home, is never the same 2 days in a row ever. And for many people, their schedules are the same, but for us, it's not. And so early on in our marriage, I started a kind of a chore schedule where I would take a room per day instead of always, working every day and then spending all day Saturday trying to clean up. I would go ahead and extend my day on Monday through Friday, or usually Monday through Thursday. I could pretty much get everything done in my house. And what I would do is I tried to do laundry every day, if not every day, every other. And then I would pick one room a day. So in other words, when I came home from work, I would do the bathroom or the bathrooms, and that would be my chore for that day. I would wipe the bathroom down. I would clean the bathroom. The next day might be my kitchen. I would sweep and mop and organize my pots and get all of my, my kitchen towels put away properly and everything organized in my kitchen, clean out my refrigerator, empty my trash, and, get everything straightened up really nice. The next day might be my bedroom, and I might go in there and put away shoes and hang up clothes that had been thrown over a chair, and I would sweep in the bedroom or vacuum in the bedroom. Another day, would be the living room area, and I would make sure that all the paperwork was put away and everything was picked up. So that's kind of how I did my chores back then, and is still very much how I do my chores now. I do not take one whole day, hardly ever, and clean my house. My schedule is a rotating schedule. It is always in rotation. One thing that I do now and that I did when my children were small that is probably different than that is I work on my kitchen and living room every single day. I always make sure my floor is swept. I always make sure my sink is empty of dishes every day before I go to bed at night. And I always make sure all of my papers are picked up. If they're not put out in the recycling bin, they're folded neatly and ready to go outside in the recycling bin. All of the shoes that are in the middle of the floor are put away. I just try to make sure our main living areas are picked up, and I've done that for many years, and it's a habit to me. If I have 10 minutes before I have to leave to go to church, I take that 10 minutes and I do something. I think I'm going to empty all the trash bags in the house right now, and it doesn't take me but 2 or 3 minutes to do that. Or I'm going to take a bottle of Lysol wipes and I'm going to go through and I'm going to wipe off all the bathroom fixtures. I'm going to wipe off my kitchen cabinets real quick and all the doorknobs in the house. Now that might take about 5 to 10 minutes, but then I put everything away. I go to church. When I come home, it's all done. So I'm in a constant rotation with the schedule of my cleaning where I do not have a set day where I do all of my cleaning at one time. I'm constantly doing something. This morning, I washed my sheets. I cleaned my husband's bathroom up. And of course, my kitchen right now is totally clean. My trash has been carried out and all the recycling is carried out. And I have another load of clothes right now in the dryer. Now, that's just me. That's kind of how I do things. I never know from day to day what's going to happen. We've had 2 deaths in our church within 36 hours, and both of those funerals will be on Saturday, which means all day Saturday we will be at church or we will be at the gravesite. We will also be, we have a team of food services people that prepare meals for bereavement. So they will be in the kitchen, they will be cooking and preparing meals. We will go down and pray with the family. Sometimes we eat with the family and spend time with them, and that will be a tough day. 2 funerals in one day. We've done it before many times, but typically we don't have two in one day. But that will be a long day. And then we will turn around on Sunday and have another really long day at church. But that's just the way our lives are, and we're very accustomed to it. Just this past weekend, we were in bed. It was 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. We were watching a little TV before we turned the lights out because we knew we had to be up bright and early on Sunday. And we got a phone call that one of our members, who is in an assisted living and lives about 20-25 miles from us, she had fallen. And while she was physically fine, she was emotionally rattled, and she really wanted to see us. And so we got out of bed, we put our clothes on, we drove over to the assisted living. They let us in. We spent about 45 minutes with her. She was in good spirits when we left, and we came back home, but we didn't get in bed that night till close to midnight. So that's just kind of our routine. We never know what each day is going to bring or each evening is going to bring. So we have learned to be extremely flexible, where other people may find that a more rigid schedule works for them. But that's how my chore chart works. It's really not something I've written down. It's just in my head. When I think something needs to be done, it's on my mental list, and I won't rest until I get it done. And that's kind of the way that I live. My house is sometimes messy, but not that much anymore because all my children are grown. And certainly, when you know how it is, when your children grow up, things are much neater. Now, I've had a few other questions asked to me in some of the letters I received. If you have questions, I'll list them below, and I will try to do another Q&A video at a later time. Friends, it's been great to spend a few minutes with you today. Thank you so much. I love you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.